And joining me is the third president who is joining me for this series. He's the Chancellor of Southern University at New Orleans, James Ammons. Dr. Ammons, thank you so much for joining me on the way forward. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
No problem whatsoever. And listen, anytime that I can do a shout out for HBCUs, I'm going to do it. So I will recognize for the audience that, first of all, you are an alum of FAMU, Florida A&M, Rattler Strike. And then also recognizing that you are a former president of North Carolina Central. So, and as well as your alma mater, as well as FAMU. So it's great to have you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I've had an opportunity to lead some of the nation's top higher educational institutions, and it's just great to be here in the state of Louisiana, having also been at the campus in Baton Rouge, Southern University, Baton Rouge, and now here at Southern University at New Orleans.
Yeah, so let's talk about what's happening at SUNO. And one of the stories that I love to tell about SUNO is that I have had the great opportunity as a member of the American Marketing Association, as someone who has been working in higher ed marketing and communications. I've had the great opportunity to be nominated twice for Higher Ed Marketer of the Year with AMA. That started because of my beginning in the business in higher ed at SUNO. I was the director of PR over there. And so that began a wonderful journey for me. So there's a special place in my heart for SUNO. And let's talk about impact. I mean, SUNO is the only public HBCU that we have in Southeast Louisiana. Explain what the impact of SUNO is like.
First of all, it means that we are affordable and we are accessible to students who want to have an experience staying at home or being from other places to come to one of the most popular cities in the world, New Orleans. So again, what that means to us is that having as a part of our name, New Orleans, we have a responsibility to this city and to this region, and to make certain that we are relevant to the needs of this city, its citizens, and the surrounding areas. And so our impact can be seen by the fact that we have produced some of this city's, state, and nation's top leaders. And they were able to have access to an institution that saw their needs. Many of our graduates were what we call non-traditional students when they came to the institution, and we offered programs in the evenings, on weekends, while they were able to maintain their employment, to keep their families together. And that's our legacy. And as a matter of fact, we're getting ready to reinvigorate the evening and weekend college and bring back those days when you could barely get down Press Drive in the evenings and on weekends, because we had courses, degree programs being offered that were tailored to the needs of the citizens of this great city.
You know, Chancellor Ammons, in my world in higher ed communications and marketing, one of the active conversations that we're having right now, and I brought this up with President Wainwright from Southeastern Louisiana, is the enrollment cliff. And every time this enrollment cliff conversation comes up, my response to it is, but you keep forgetting about working adults who either stopped out and need to go back to school, or the ones who never took advantage of the opportunity to go to school. And then when the criticisms of higher education come up, a lot of times what I'll bring up, and I mentioned it earlier in a previous episode, is that a lot of times they're talking about institutions that are $50,000 plus per year. But what flies under the radar is what you just mentioned, the access that people have to an affordable higher education, and the fact that you do have folks who stopped out or they need to go to school, period. And SUNO has done a phenomenal job of making sure that folks who need to go back for their degrees or who want to start their degrees after they've had families and jobs SUNO's done a phenomenal job of that, and that just fly. Do you feel that that flies under the radar?
Well, not for us.
Okay.
Again, it's a part of our history. It's a part of the mission of Southern University at New Orleans. And like right now, if you look at our student profile is about 57% non-traditional. In other words, they're
Mhm.
25 years or older. So we know that market. And even though we have transitioned some of our programs to online, we have done the research, and there is a market in the New Orleans region for face to face programs that are being offered during the evening and on weekends. And this
Mhm.
fall, we'll have even more programs being offered in that format where people can keep their jobs, keep their families, and attain a degree or a credential.
So one of the big developments recently for SUNO is the launch of his School of Nursing, and there are folks who are probably saying, "Man, another School of Nursing or another nursing program at an institution." For you, what is the significance of SUNO having a School of Nursing?
Well, let me tell you how it started. Some years ago, back in 2015, SUNO actually received approval from the Board of Regents to start a nursing program. And we
Hmm.
all know about the critical shortage of nurses,
Right.
but even more critical is a shortage of nurses of color, especially African American nurses. So during the pandemic and before the vaccine, we were sitting there watching where nurses and other healthcare professionals were leaving the profession so that they could protect themselves and protect their families. But also, people have to remember that at the beginning, New Orleans was the epicenter of the pandemic. Right after Mardi Gras, that's when New Orleans got that dubious distinction. And I said to the community, to the university community, now is the time for SUNO to pursue a nursing degree program. The other part of it was that if you remember, people of color were the first to pass away
Yeah.
as a result of COVID. And many of them were passing away in hospital rooms with people who were not a part of their family because the families couldn't be there, and people who didn't understand all of the pre existing conditions that existed in our community. And so there was a cultural responsibility that we saw here at SUNO to provide a way for people of color to attain a nursing degree and to be of service to people in this community. And it resonated. Within a year and a half, we had a nursing program. We're getting ready now to graduate the first cohort in May
Mhm.
at our spring commencement. And I just got off the phone with the dean of the School of Nursing. We're getting ready to bring in another cohort and to provide additional slots for students who are interested in nursing. So, again, it's a part of that responsibility that we have, again, with New Orleans as a part of our name to be relevant to the needs of this community.
You're listening to The Way Forward. I'm Eddie Francis. We're talking to Chancellor James Ammons. He is the Chancellor of Southern University at New Orleans, SUNO, which is known for its social work program for many, many years. And when I was a director of PR, I actually called around to agencies around the state to just get some feedback about people who had their MSWs or their bachelor's degrees in social work from SUNO. And consistently, Chancellor Ammons, what I heard across the board was these are the most valuable folks we have because they understand the community and the needs. From your lens, what is the importance of that program to southeastern Louisiana, especially for people who hear about it but don't necessarily know why they keep hearing that social work is what SUNO is the place to be for social work. How would you describe the value?
Well, first of all, even though we are creating other programs, social work is our signature program.
Yeah.
Pioneers like former Dean Millie Charles and all of the faculty and staff in the School of Social Work have positioned this school as a world renowned school of social work. You will not only find social work graduates from SUNO here in this community, they're all over the world. And it's because of the transformative curriculum that they have put together that has lasted throughout the years, of course, with innovations that have made the graduates of this program special. And so when you start talking about some of the most effective social workers, the most effective people in this profession, you will find that most of them in this region graduated from the Millie M. Charles School of Social Work here at SUNO. We have been able to not only attract scholars from this region, but actually all across the globe. But we've also been able to attract funding to support the faculty and the students in the school so that they stay on the cutting edge of the literature and on the cutting edge of methods in this field. We partnered with the city of New Orleans and the Wisner Foundation to create a center for grief and trauma.
Oh, wow.
One of the few entities like this that you will find in colleges and universities. We have that Center of Grief
Hmm.
and Trauma right here on this campus to give our students a distinct um, opportunity for expertise in an area that is so much needed, not only in this community, but again, all across the globe.
Hmm. So, again, I ask all the leaders about this, digging into my bag as someone who is in higher ed marketing and communications. I love to talk about the impact of alumni on the communities where they graduate. I know a boatload of SUNO grads, including one of my uncles and one of my best friends, and whole bunch of guys I went to high school with, and so when you talk about the contribution of SUNO alumni to the community, how would you describe it?
Well, it's interesting. I'm real. So I was in the grocery store yesterday and
Uh-oh, here we go. This is gonna be good.
no, it's interesting. There was a gentleman in the grocery store who saw me. He said, "I know you. Um, are you a minister? Are you in the school system?" And I told him who I was. He said, "I'm an alum of SUNO." And he told me, I think he said he was around 85 years old, an alum of SUNO, and he told me about the impact that SUNO had on his life, how his life was changed, and he was able
Mhm,
to contribute to the educational system. He was a retired educator, and what SUNO meant to him. Well, you know what? You will hear that story time and time again, not only when you talk to the alums of SUNO, but the people who they work with, the
yeah,
value of an education from Southern University at New Orleans. There is, there is a special nature of this institution. I say that because I've been to several HBCUs and we all have our own distinct culture.
yeah.
There is a culture here at SUNO that follows our graduates throughout their lives. It's not just a thing that happens when they are here on the campus, but there is this, first of all, sense of confidence and a sense of caring and the
Mhm,
desire to be leaders, to be people of impact. that follow them throughout their lives. And that's what makes SUNO so special.
Can we park on the culture of HBCUs really quickly? Because, I'm working at my fourth HBCU. And my wife, she is a proud alumna of Hampton, and I got my master's degree from Tennessee State, and I have all these friends who graduated from Howard and FAMU and Xavier and Dillard and all these other great HBCUs. And the number one myth is that they're all alike. Is that all the HBCUs have the same culture everywhere you go? You have served as president of several. How do cultures differ to you among different HBCUs? How have you seen those cultures be different?
Well, first of all, I'll say this: there are some things that are common. And I think one of the most important things when it comes to the culture of our institutions is that our students get to see people who look like them in leadership roles, in the classrooms, and who are doing everything that they can to make sure that they are successful
Mm,
and their capabilities are not questioned. We accept you for who you are, and we're going to take you and we're going to work with you and make certain that you have everything that you need to not only compete, but to win. And
mm,
that's something that's common across all HBCUs. But there are some differences, and there are some that I have seen, and a lot of it comes out of where they're located. There
hmm
are certain characteristics. For instance, here at SUNO and being in New Orleans, nobody can duplicate the culture of New Orleans. They may try, but there are so many things around the history, the music, the food. It's just different and it's distinct, and nobody else can duplicate that. All right. There are some things that I observed at Southern University, Baton Rouge, that we didn't see at Florida A&M or at North Carolina Central. And so all of them are valuable. And the one other thing that I would say is that we all do certain things to make certain that we are the reservoirs of those important pieces of our culture, the
hmm
convocations, the Lyceum series, the people who we bring to the institution. All of that is a part of the culture of our institutions and the fact that we are working to make certain that our students have exposure to people who are having impact in our society, and that it is something that will carry them throughout their careers.
I always tell this story that one day I was walking across the campus at Sudo, and I saw a group of students on a bench, and they were singing "Dive in That Gumbo," and I said, "Okay, there is no other place, not even in the city of New Orleans, no other campus where you're going to see a group of students doing that." And it was just wonderful to me because as a New Orleanian, I was like, "Oh man, this is really cool to have a place where you have a genuine, authentic piece of New Orleans culture on a college campus among a group of students who were just having fun."
Exactly,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
The other thing too, I mean, here in New Orleans, it's not out of place to have a second line at whatever event it is. I mean, I don't care how formal it is. It's okay to have a second line.
Yeah, it is. It is. As a matter of fact, all right, this is a fun one for you. I remember there was a second line band, and I saw Dr. George Amity break it down second line it. And I said, "Oh, okay. I didn't know Dr. Amity had moves not like that." So you tell him I said that. I called him one
We
day.
go.
So another fun question, and one of my favorite SUNO factoids is that SUNO is the only university in the state of Louisiana that has national championships in both the NAIA and NCAA.
Right. Mhm.
So just looking at that, looking at athletics, I used to love going to the games in the castle. I loved them, volleyball, basketball. What about you? Is there a part of the year that you look forward to where you say, "Okay, I gotta go see what's going on in the castle, or I gotta go see what the track team is doing." Is there a part that you look forward to?
All of them.
I tell you what, where do you want the community to come in and see and say, y'all need to see more of this?
Well, I think all of our sports.
Yeah.
We have men and women basketball, we have volleyball, we have baseball, and we're
Mhm.
getting ready to restart men and women track. Now, I got to tell you to follow up on a point that you made. I think that it is extremely important for us to bring back men and women track.
Yeah.
And again, it's because of the history and because of the success, the national championships, the Olympians. Some people may remember the Black Knights
Yep.
back in the 60s and 70s. It is just a part of who SUNO is. And I am so happy that we were able to get the approval to bring those sports back. And so, beginning this fall, we'll have men and women on the track again. So, that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to.
That's awesome. I had the pleasure of taking a 10-hour trip with the track team once, and it was quite entertaining. That's all I'm gonna say. So I always like to ask about the way forward. And for you as the chancellor of one of our universities, what is the way forward for folks from the communities to come in and to interact or even collaborate with SUNO?
There are some ways that I want to communicate to you, and that's a great question. One, we have to make certain that our students know that it's okay to go to SUNO, that you can get to anywhere in life that you want to get to from 6400 SUNO Knights Drive. It used to be Press Drive. It's SUNO Knights Drive now. And to just give you an example, over the last few months, we had 7 of our students being admitted to medical school.
Oh wow.
We had a former Miss Suno get accepted to 10 law schools. Howard was her number one choice, and she just finished her law degree at Howard. And so we have students going on getting master's degrees, getting PhDs. And as I said, not only are they competing, but they're winning. And that's what I want to make certain that this community communicates to our students here in this city and in this region. The second thing is that we continuously need the support of our community to provide ways that students can get financial support. In the state of Louisiana, we have TOPS, which is a merit based. You have to have a certain GPA, certain test score to get TOPS. That's the scholarship, the Taylor Opportunity Scholarship. And then we have what we call GO grants. They are need based grants that go to students because of their financial and their family's financial profile. And then, of course, we have Pell Grants. Well, far too many of our students run out of aid before they complete their degree. They end up having to stop out and work, save up, and come back, and it takes them forever. We need the financial support of our alumni, the business community, and individuals and foundations to support students who have everything that it takes to be successful except money. Those are ways that we can have the community to interact with us. And then, too, as we did during our career fair, we had alums who are leaders in their organizations come back to the institution and talk to our students about their experiences here and the kinds of skill sets they need to develop in order to be successful. And I mean, it meant so much to our students to hear and to see graduates of this institution who have gone on to succeed and given them these pearls of wisdom that they need in order to be successful in their own right. So those are some of the ways that we need this community to continue to wrap its arms around SUNO, because again, this is a place that is accessible and a place that is affordable and a place that understands the needs of this community.
Yeah, yeah, and not to mention, I mean, so many programs where people can get assistance, business assistance, and that sort of thing, and I don't want to go on about this or belabor it, but one area that I cannot leave out when I think about Suno and alumni that's produced is actually the business school. Dr. Uday over there, and then so many teachers you run into throughout New Orleans, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got my undergrad from SUNO, or I got my MSW from SUNO." So that is great stuff. Thank you so much, Chancellor James Ammons, who is the Chancellor of Southern University at New Orleans. Thank you so much, Dr. Ammons. I really appreciate you for joining me on the way forward.
Well, thank you. And again, you keep up the good work and continue to sing the praises of historically Black colleges and universities and the value that they bring to this nation.